So could you repeat the first question for me?
Of course, here it is again. When Paul talks about us being a new creation in Second Corinthians 5, how do you understand the relationship between that new identity and the emphasis on obedience and judgment that we see in passages like Matthew 7 and Romans 6? I'm interested how you connect those ideas.
So as we become a new creation, that means our transformation into a living being uh, through the redemption. Uh, then we are bound to keep the law of God, which means to live as a servant of righteousness.
Absolutely. That makes a lot of sense. So basically, as a new creation, you're seeing that transformation as something that naturally leads us into a life of obedience. And I like how you put it. Living as a servant of righteousness really ties together that idea of being reshaped by God's love. Let me follow up with another question then.
Yes, I have. You can ask another question.
Right. So here's my next question for you. If we think about this idea of living as a servant of righteousness as a new creation, how do you see that playing out practically in the life of a believer? In other words, what do you think are some everyday ways that this obedience and transformation show up in how someone actually lives?
Oh.
Absolutely. That's a great angle to explore. I think practically it might show up in lots of little daily choices.
As a new creation, you are seeing that transformation as something that naturally leads us into a life of obedience. Living as a servant of righteousness really ties together that idea of being reshaped by God's grace. To become a new creation means that through redemption, we are truly transformed into a new way of living. As a result, we are no longer free to live for ourselves, but bound to live in obedience to God's law, that is, to live as servants of righteousness.